Finsweet, agency, product, community. That's effing sweet.
Cool. Welcome, everyone. Happy to have you here in a new Friday Technical Live Stream. And today I am not alone. I have wonderful Leon joining us because we're going to be talking about a tool that he built. So, Leon, say hi to the audience.
Hi, and thanks, Alex, for having me. It's really cool to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love bringing in people from the community. Like it's always just me just talking stuff, and when people joins and just shares cool things that they've built, it's amazing. I enjoy it, but also everyone is always super happy to have people like you here in the live stream. So, well, everyone, you already know the drill. We're gonna wait a few minutes until everyone joins, and then we'll just right into it because we've got a lot of things to talk about. Today, our live stream is about StudioForm. It's a tool to build interactive forms in Webflow. And it also, one of the coolest things of that product is that it's very out of the box compatible with wized. So it allows not only to just build simple interactive forms, but make them fully integrated in web apps. So we'll see all of that. First of all, let me say hi to the people in the audience. Bazim, thank you for coming. Mohammed, Matthews, or Mateos, thank you all for coming. Let me see if, let me grab the live chat. We've got already a few folks here. Hello, Duncan. Nice. Thank you all for coming. Cool. Yeah. I'm trying to Oh my God. I just messed up my laptop.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Before everyone, I'm panicking already, but just everyone know that I just spit my whole coffee on my laptop. But don't worry, because I think that nothing broke yet. Let's go. Yeah. 1 second. Oh my God, things of life. I'll just keep saying hi to the audience, and Leon, if you want to just jump in and say hi to the people. And
sure.
trying to solve the disaster that I just made.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for checking in. So while Alex is cleaning up his coffee mess, I wanted to present StudioForm today. And as Alex mentioned, it's a JavaScript framework made for forms, for interactive forms, specifically made for Webflow and for wized, and also for all of you that work with Xeno. So it's kind of made for like that classic WWX stack. And it allows you to build multi-step forms, allows you to build custom input validation, and just allows you, and it saves a lot of time when you and your client just have to build a really complex form, which is always a major centerpiece and one of the major components of any build, especially within the web world. And I thought it is probably best to show this by a really, really cool component. And so we'll just go on the live preview side. I assume there might be a link in the chat. So for anyone who wants to check out the projects themselves, just click on the link, and I will now jump right into the project. So this is an inspiration we had from the MemberStack and wized competition. Because we participated, we made second place, which was totally awesome. And we thought StudioForm is really, really good at building onboarding forms, also at building like other types of forms. But onboarding forms is one of the key things that we can do with the tool. And we thought MemberStack doesn't even have one, so we came up with a design and just built one of the coolest onboarding flows that we've ever seen, or at least that I've personally seen. And we will just click through this, and it just goes super smooth. And as a user, you're through the entire process within a couple of seconds. And you might think, okay, that is similar to many other tools. So now comes the real benefits and the real specialities of StudioForm in here. So if we do a refresh, for example, we will see our first feature, which is a special feature that we're presenting live for the very first time, which is StudioForm Pro Memory. This allows you to remember what your user clicked and throws them right back at where they were the last time. Yeah, Alex, do you have any questions so far, or is your mic still not working? I unfortunately don't see your camera in that view.
I just need 30 more seconds. I'm trying to clean up all this mess, and then I'm back with you guys. You're doing great, Leon.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you see a great variety of steps. So we have like the initial first step is a couple of name input fields. Then we have a file upload, and usually you would have to manage that within wized, and would cost you a bunch of actions. With StudioForm, you get all of that right out of the box. Plus, I hope this is visible. You will see that the file upload box is getting blue when I hover over there with any file I might want to drop. So you have drag and drop functionality directly implement by default, and you don't have to worry about how to make one of those. It's actually quite complicated. Then you obviously have very smooth animations and navigation that works very reliably. And then another really cool new feature to showcase is we've built, also first time shown here, StudioForm Pro Advanced Navigation, which allows you to navigate the form with outside elements, which I think is just super, super cool. And this all goes basically for the purpose of making the user experience as tailored and as easy and as high converting as possible. So this is actually a reasonably complex form with a bunch of fields, and it just takes a couple of seconds to click through the entire form, and you're just done. And we've heard from previous other developers that have implemented this that their clients are just super happy with the actual results and with the actual conversions that come in. And yeah, Alex, are you now back? Or is
I think I am, but my mic. I think that you guys will have to hear me with the computer mic. Is that good?
It's okay for me.
Okay, great. Okay, crisis solved.
I'm
sorry, guys. I'm just sweating. My God, I just made a mess, incredible mess. But I'm here. Okay, so I know that I haven't been watching the demo because I was just trying to clean everything. But I saw this demo a couple days ago when we met, and I know that it was cool as hell to just see how things were built super easily. Have you shown the how wized is connecting in this particular project?
Let's show that. We have just shown the live project. So we go into wized. This looks fairly clean, right? And then we turn on the X-ray. And this gets really, really beautiful because you see on the form itself, there's only one attribute, which means you only have one action on the particular form, which just saves loads of headaches and loads of actions. So yeah, this is how it looks in inside of wized. I wonder, Alex, how it looks in the projects that you look into from time to time from people that build these from scratch every time.
Nice. Josie saying, this preview card is legitimately selling me on the platform. I just launched a nationwide site for a client with MemberStack, and I'm strongly thinking about switching the subscription process. Yeah, that's an awesome use case. Just onboarding somebody to go from not even being a user to have that user creating a subscription, just bringing them step by step, it's an amazing use case and something that it's very, very easy to implement with StudioForm.
Yeah.
Nice. And well, I think that we can jump into just because I would love to be for people to just see how easy it is to build something. I'm not gonna say basic, but like a full blown thing that it's just fully interactive with just a few steps from your side, because it's very similar to other products that you know from the ecosystem. Everything is attribute based. Everything is customizable and very well thought around the Webflow way of building things. So we're used to just working with a designer, building things, and then adding bits of interactivity on things that exist on a Webflow project. And this is another tool with these amazing experience. So I would love to just go. Maybe I don't know if you were thinking about going through the quick start, or you had a very specific project in mind, but I would love to see that.
Yeah, perfect. I'm happy that we are talking about that so early. I prepared before the stream. I prepared this page, which is a login page powered through MemberStack. So this is really, really classic MemberStack, and I didn't change anything about this. So I went into like the MemberStack UI and literally just pasted. I think I added the script in this page setting and just added the component, didn't change anything. And so the cool thing about this MemberStack just allows you to set up off within like a minute, which is crazy. And after this is successful, this sign up and sign in form will forward you to /onboarding. And that is where the page is still empty. And yeah, that's what I want to show today as the example. And so what you would do is you would go to studioform.pro, and then you could, for example, press on read docs, and then you could go to the quick start. And if you look at the quick start, it actually gives you the suggestion to just sign up for the library. So we have like a library built into the platform with just a bunch of pre-built components. And that's usually how you start. It just saves a tremendous amount of time. So we go to this, and then we can just scroll through this. And I have like an admin account, so that's why I have like infinite credits. Free users have like 1 copy to clipboard credit, and freelancers have like 5 credits. That's our current model. Yes.
How does it work? Is it a one-time purchase to get credits, or is it a subscription based?
Currently, it's a subscription based where we are actually playing with the idea of flipping this entirely on the head and turning this more into like an e-commerce store experience. But that would be something that would probably come out end of the year, the earliest, so that you could probably buy individual components with like credits. And I just had like the Fortnite shop with like the V-Bucks in mind. I just thought it would be a kind of brilliant UI.
And just to clarify, this subscription, this paid side of the project, it's not absolutely not needed for using the tool itself, right? It's an add-on to just ease and help people to build things faster if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gotten to the point where I just straight out suggest, hey, sign up for the library, even if it's just a free plan. It just saves you so much time. But you basically copy the component and then you paste it into your project. And once it's in your project, it's done. It's dialed in, right? So you're basically only charging. We are only charging for you to get your time back when you use one of these components. But once it is in a project, it's yours. It's your intellectual property.
And if somebody wants to just build everything from scratch, they can just go over to the documentation and do that, correct?
Yeah, definitely. They can.
Nice. Yeah. Nice.
Cool. I would suggest we maybe take. Is there any component that is speaking to you, Alex?
Well, we have like limited things. No? I'm gonna say that Project Form 3 looks cool.
Foreign for you. Okay. let's take membership form number 4, and then we go into Webflow and we simply paste it in. And then we delete. Oh, I have my class sync turned off, unfortunately. Let's see. Okay,
No
but it still
problem.
looks great.
And it doesn't rely on classes, right? So it's not a problem at all.
Like StudioForm does not rely on classes for the animations and not for like the actual underlying functionality, but I show you where it relies on classes, which is it relies really on combo classes, especially when it comes to things like input validation. So you see, this is based on combo classes.
Nice. So you get that out of the box. You just have to use the classes that StudioForm brings in.
Yeah. So this is actually really easy to inspect. So you would go here, and then with the SF minus required, and
Nice.
we have this attribute that's called SF Cascader, which is, especially for all your technical developers, probably one of the coolest features ever. So if the input element, which is in this case is like a plain element, it could be like an email or a phone or a number element, or you could even write like your own custom pattern attribute, right? And you just let ChatGPT suggest you a pattern.
Nice.
If this field is required and it does not match the pattern, then apply the combo class SF required to this input field. And if there is a cascader, to the cascader, and basically to the cascader and all its child elements, which allows you to really easily make some really complex styles. So that means this input field is getting an SF required combo class. This is getting an SF required combo class. And this is getting and that's how you build it. And you can get as custom as you want.
Nice. Love it. We've got a couple questions from the audience here. First question was that, is wized a requirement or only needed for certain functionalities?
This is actually a complete standalone solution. So you can use that with Webflow and just StudioForm, and you have a pretty nice product. The moment when I like to use wized is as soon as you think about a bit more complexer functionality, especially when this is like a multi-step form that is living inside of another app. You might as well want to use wized because it just helps you organize things really well.
Yeah. And the same way that in wized, you've got a built-in data store with some, variables, cookies, requests, all the state that defines your application. StudioForm has a very similar architecture, having some state that it's also exposed, and you can get it with the JavaScript API. So then it's very easy to just make both tools coupled together to build amazing things.
Yeah. Should we couple them?
We can do it later. I would love to just finalize doing like a basic setup with just StudioForm so people knows exactly what it's providing. And then if we have enough time, we can just keep building cool things on top of that with wized. There's another question from the audience. It's also asking, so is the script library totally free, open source then? As long as I implement it manually, I can implement these features. So the pro plan is just getting access like a real human to the easy pre-built components. Can you confirm that?
Yes. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah. Short answer, yes. No need to explain things. Cool. Okay. Let's move on. Love it.
By the way, you just asked how much more setup there is. It's already done. Like we copied it in here and we press publish. And if we now go to the live side, it's already functioning. So this will directly submit to your Webflow server. Let's see. Okay, we have like a pattern on here, so this would match like a US number. And so default setting is, and this is looks like
probably the style's got a bit.
Yeah. Style's got a bit mixed up. But basically, you press submit, and your data now successfully went to Webflow. And this will be
Nice.
exactly like a native Webflow submission. We actually have a really a quite complex form submission engine that can match the pattern of a Webflow native submission. And whenever you go into Webflow and you change the action link, right? You could set this to post, and you could insert a Xeno link in here. Then your form data will not be sent to Webflow anymore, but will be sent in a format that Xeno likes.
Nice. Love it. And also, it's not only about just submitting the form. Can you talk about everything that it's baked in once you just plug in the script and you put the attributes? Because I assume that you get accessibility right out of the box. You can just navigate everything with the keyboard. What else do you get with the tool?
It's always interesting to do the entire list, but so you definitely have a form navigation that works every single time, and you don't have to think about that. You get this animation, which is completely customizable. So currently we see it's going from left to right, so it's a 90-degree animation. It's really easy to change that. So you have like complete access on how the animation behaves over here over attributes. So you could set this to 0 degrees, or you could even set it to off. So it's just like a fade in, fade out. Then you can set like time and next time, and probably to get like a full view of all the features that are probably baked in, we could go to StudioForm /docs, so studioform.pro/docs, and we just have every attribute inside of StudioForm listed on here, and I think it's a bit over 100 attributes. So that means
over 100 attributes. Oh my god!
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was as big as that. Wow.
Yeah, it's very general purpose. So the StudioForm has over 100 attributes, but only one is required. So only the wrapper attribute is required to set it up. Everything else is pre-configured, and you basically only look in here when you look at the standard behavior of StudioForm, and you're like, okay, I kind of want to change this. So whenever you use the product and you think, okay, I want to add like this special thing here, or I want to change this into a special behavior, there's a very high chance we already have like a special mode for that, or some attribute or something you can configure.
So if you just have an attribute for the wrapper, how does the tool distinguish between the steps in the build?
Fantastic question. So this is the wrapper attribute, right? Which is the only mandatory one, which will be set on the form block. Then we have the form element, and because we are in Webflow, StudioForm knows what a Webflow form element is. So StudioForm automatically knows, hey, this is a form. And then inside the form, every direct child element will be considered a form unless it has this attribute, which is called SF divider, which only exists for you inside of Webflow to have an easier management experience.
Yeah, I remember that. So essentially, then you can just put everything, and then probably if you scroll down, we'll see now how things are just divided by these special, let's call it special element with the CSS class. Nice.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Love it. And what about the navigation buttons? Do those require some attributes, or are also just identified automatically?
Smart question. So let's start with the default. So by default, you usually work with these buttons here. So either with like a normal Webflow button, or with one of those form buttons, which are basically submit buttons, right? And so these normal buttons, these will always be considered next buttons. So because they have like, if you inspect them, they have like a specific class, and that's how StudioForm knows, hey, this is a next button. If you don't want this button to be a next button, you simply add a custom attribute, which is called SF Pref or SF Previous. And then we know, okay, this is a previous button. Or if you add a button, but for some reason you don't want it to be a pref or a next button, you add SF no button. And So that would
Nice.
be that. Submit buttons would be categorized as a submit button. They will be swapped a bit for some technical reasons, but basically StudioForm will know, hey, when this button is here and a user clicks it, you probably want that the form directly submits. Another cool thing about the next buttons, if the next button is on the very last slide, but there is no more slide after that, the next button will kind of convert into a submit button, which so you don't really have to think about that.
Love it.
What we have here in the standard setup is that we actually have custom buttons, and these buttons don't have that special Webflow class that allows StudioForm to automatically pick them up. And on these buttons, you add the attribute sf equal next. But otherwise, if you use standard buttons, it just picks it up.
Would it also work with button tags? Because I see that those are A tags. If I use a button type button, that would also work?
We purposefully did not do buttons because they act fairly interesting when somebody presses enter. They kind of take control. They have like there is something pre-built by a browser. When you use a button element inside a form, they are always considered submit buttons, which is a bit odd. So we just preferred A's because they didn't trigger anything.
Unless you set the button to be a type button, I think. So when you set up a button, you have two types of buttons. You've got the submit type or the button type. And by default, buttons are submit type unless you set them to be type equals button.
You taught me something new about forms. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, that would be amazing because then that would make it even more accessible because you're just then dealing with actual buttons and not links that are not sending you anywhere. So that would be also super cool to have it supported.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be another benefit of the library because we're in a phase of like gathering feedback and basically still within the first launch of the components. So that type of feedback is super awesome because we can basically have that in the new version of the library components. So.
Nice. Cool. Nice. What about the inputs? I assume that everything that it's native, like for example, patterns, minimum values, maximum values, the type of the inputs, if they're required or not, if they're disabled or not, all these things, are they respected by default by StudioForm?
Yeah, we have a really complex dot requirements .ts script, so it's written in TypeScript. So we have a really complex script that is respecting all these attributes and is really tailored to how a Webflow form would be set up. So with pattern, min, max, min length, max length, that sort of stuff.
That's amazing. And then on top of that, I think that you were working on like a plugin for validation that would provide like extra things that you could use to validate steps.
Yeah. So let's see. So this is for one form memory. So we see, okay, it's just staying like this. So let me refresh the form. And this is the newest validation feature that we've built. So once you type something in, you see there's a new combo class added, which is SF minus valid, which works the same way as SF required works and respects the cascader. And so you see if it matches the requirements, there is a special class attached and you can style it the way you want. And so here it matches the pattern again. And then you see another thing, for example, on the bottom here, there is a class attached which is SF minus disabled, simply because the requirements of this particular step were not yet met. Nice. This is our most recent additional feature for validation.
Nice. So you have all the tools required to make sure that people can only jump to the next steps when they fill the form the way that you want to.
Yeah. Even with the standard version. So you press next here, or you press enter, like there is no chance you as a user can move onward. And you as the developer don't even have to think about it because it just works out of the box.
Love it. Duncan Prince is asking, would Studio Forms reduce spam? Native Webflow forms, even with reCAPTCHA, gets flooded with spam. What are your thoughts?
We've recently built. So we've recently built Google reCAPTCHA version 3 into the product, and it definitely helps reduce spam. But you have to connect it with some additional backend, or you could theoretically even use wized because it has like the server built in. But I don't have that prepared right now. But basically, what you would do is on the body, because this would be like a global setting. So in StudioForm, you can have as many components as you multi-step forms on a page as you want. So you could have like 20 forms on your page with StudioForm, and this would be instance level configuration. And then there is like global configuration. And what you would do is you would set sf minus reCAPTCHA minus key, and then you have some key value that you get like from Google, which is like your front end key, and you paste it in here. And what this does is on submission, it loads in the Google reCAPTCHA script, generates one of those tokens, and attaches them to your form data. So it sends it with your form data along to whatever server you pick. So it could be Webflow native server, or it could be Xeno, or it could be Netlify, or whatever you prefer.
Nice.
And yeah, so once you have that,
no, go ahead. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, and basically once you have that key, you have to go to your server of choice. For example, we just today, or I think the day before today, one of my clients implemented that himself, and he implemented it with Make. So you have these Make webhooks, and you could, for example, just paste the Make webhook URL inside of the action field, set it to post, and then you send the data there, and you get the reCAPTCHA key. And then basically the first thing you do inside of Make is that you make a call to Google verify token, and then you verify the token, and then Google returns you a score, which is like between 0 and 1. And if the score is above 0.5, you know it's most likely a human and not a bot. And then you would set up like a filter. Is this score higher than 0.5? Okay, continue my flow, send out emails, put it into my Google Sheets, whatever you do in your automations.
Nice. Yeah. reCAPTCHA or anything else, like for example, Cloudflare's version, it's something that it's not something that you can implement just in a plug and play, because the validation happens in two places. It happens on the browser when generating the token with reCAPTCHA, but then the server that it's receiving that data also needs to validate the token to get the score from Google. So when you're thinking about implementing something like reCAPTCHA, you need to think that it's not only about StudioForm, but it's also about your server who's receiving the info, who needs to validate the tokens. Always have that in mind. And for what I'm seeing here, Mohammed is saying that you're going to be adding information about this in your documentation. So that's awesome, because you can teach about this to people.
Yeah. I mean, this sounds a bit complex if you just talk theory, but this can be really fast, especially if you use something as friendly as Make.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Wow. So what else we're missing? What are the cool things that we haven't talked about the library?
Within the library or within StudioForm itself?
So StudioForm will be like the whole product, right? Like library plus the application, whatever you feel that it's cool and we should talk about.
Yeah, I think we moved the hand quick enough that we could look at the wized integration. I think that's what's usually exciting to me, because that makes it very easy to hook it up with everything else complex and crazy and unique you have going on in your application. Because I mean, when you zoom out a bit and think a bit about value, I think software is generally valuable when it's fairly unique and just allows you to express like a unique business case. And I think that's probably the speciality of StudioForm, that it saves you time as a kind of a pre-made solution, right? I think the first time I built like a multi-step form and I got it to like the point of how the client wanted it to be, it took me like 2 months. Now I just have to press like a copy to clipboard button. So that's an improvement. Nice. And so you basically get all that pain relief, and you get all that time back. And but you don't have to compromise that you still want to build something unique for your users. And that's why I think like the wized integration is the coolest thing here, because it allows you to have Webflow, which allows you to build anything you want in terms of being visually unique, right? So Webflow just has like the best HTML and CSS editor. I mean, there are some framework fans, but like in terms of like raw HTML and CSS, it just is unparalleled. And then you have like wized, which just allows it to embed reactivity and all the wonderful things that web apps have, and all that functionality just makes it much easier. And then you have StudioForm, which just gives you the superpower of multi-step forms and advanced form development, which you will use in every single application that you build. Like every application that you build will have a form, even if it's just like the sign up form. But usually you just need to, and you usually want to collect like a bunch of data and make that very easy for your customer, because you want to customize their user experience, make it very unique, put yourself in a better spot to provide value to them. And yeah, I think that's enough talk. Nice. I would jump to how to implement this.
Yeah, to me, what's more important in a web app, it's basically forms. Essentially, forms are the way that we have in websites to interact with the users. When there are many other elements that you can have on the site, but those elements are just one-way interaction, which is the user interacting with the website, but just with the UI. The moment that you want to have a direct connection between the user and just process that information to give something different to that user, that forms are always the portal to that. Forms are the way that we collect data. The forms are the way that we respond custom data to the users. So forms are the way that we build web applications in web development. So having a tool that takes like the native form from the browsers and just expands it, just makes it with way more capabilities to be able to just bring something that was, like a basic interaction to something that it's an amazing UX for the user to kind of achieve the same goal, which is sending some data and then getting some response back from it. But the process of sending that data, that's what makes the overall result way better when the experience is just tailored to the use case.
Yeah,
Mark Brutus is asking. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say I couldn't agree more. So.
Yeah. Mark Brutus is asking: are URL params supported to pre-fill the data?
Query params to pre-fill the data. Alex helped me out on that. I think you guys probably have like a Finsweet solution for that. Can you pre-fill input fields?
We do have it built in for the filters attributes. So then when you select things, then they get stored in the URL. And if you want to send that URL to somebody to see the exact same filters, that's something that we have in attributes. But I don't think that we have it somewhere else. Do we?
Okay.
Not sure. But yeah, I can see the use case. People sometimes want to just share a URL with a form that gets pre-filled with specific values. Mm-hmm. So that's also some cool feedback for you guys in case that you want to work on that.
Definitely. I would actually see this as an extension of StudioForm memory. So currently we have an interface. So you see here, usually this is how a form looks by default. And right when you refresh, it just is blank, right? You fill in your information, or over here we have the actual form. So this is how a form works without StudioForm Pro memory. And you just hit refresh and it's just like set to the step it was before and no data is there. And so we definitely did some groundwork for allowing you to write data. And yeah, we could definitely extend it by just sending like specific links that allows you to pre-fill them. The general idea and the philosophy for building StudioForm initially was that I wanted to make a really, really good core product that is extendable by not just me. So that is why I find wized so fascinating, because that is literally the definition of extending stuff. It's like extending other pre-built things and other pre-built components within Webflow. But yeah, we could think about putting that as a pro script within like our library. We definitely want to expand our library offering. Besides components, we also want to expand that into scripts. Yes.
I totally see that as the memory plugin. It's kind of like the same approach, but instead of being just local memory, something that it's URL memory. So then you can share it with somebody and pick it up from there where they were, which is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, so if I would do that for a client, I know my way around this, and especially given that StudioForm Pro memory has advanced now, I could probably build that in under an hour. Would be a bit too technical for the stream right here, because this is a lot of JavaScript writing, but
Nice. Well, but I think that the key concept here is that StudioForm is not only the base product, but also you made it extensible enough to be able to build plugins on top of it, like these memory plugin and the validation plugin. So most of the feedback that people from the community, people from you guys who are watching this, if you give feedback to the StudioForm team, they will probably just be happy to work on it if the use case makes sense, of course, because the tool, it has been built for extensibility. It has been built to just keep expanding it with new functionalities, which is, I think, that one of the best things of what you built here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, this was definitely my initial vision. was a very long way to put this into actual reality, make this actually happen. But yeah, I think we're there. It's fairly easy to extend. So I like, for example, like this custom validation class thing, and like the extra combo class on the next button that was like under 100 lines, which is like 100 uncompressed lines, which is in this world very, very little code.
Nice. How about we see how, for example, in the case of this example, how is it connected with Wiz? You kind of gave like an overview, quick overview, but I would love for people to see exactly how easy it was to just build the interactive bit on the left. So when you're filling things, all that the info is being displayed on that Leon Barth card that you have on the left.
Yeah, sure. We could do something else. We could do something like that as well.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's an excellent point. So if we turn on the X-ray, and maybe before we turn on the X-ray, we will type in a bit more data and attach an image and go ahead. Wonderful. Let's go to this step, for example. And then we turn on the X-ray. We see on StudioForm itself, there's literally only one attribute, which is on the form element itself. So how wized is describe or like suggesting that with any other form development you might do, right? You put the wized attribute on the form element, and then you see that basically all the attribute and the action work is happening on the left. So a bunch of attributes over here. And how this works is we have the form attribute. So MSO, if you're wondering, is member stack onboarding. I just didn't want an attribute name that would be infinitely long. And here we get like the first interaction with the StudioForm JavaScript API. So on event input or on event change, so if one of the input fields or one of the checkboxes changes, or the file upload changes, an event is generated by default from the browser, is generated on that particular element, and it just bubbles up to the form element. And that's how wized is able to catch that element. And when it catches that, we use this little piece of code, which is StudioForm dot your form name, which in this case matches the wized attribute, so MSO form, and then dot data, and then you invoke it. And
how do you define the form name?
Oh yeah, this is you're gonna like that. Let's go to this brand new project over here. And the way you define your form name is that you go into your form block settings, which you can find if you press the form block, the form, or any other element within the form. And you just change the name. So we could call this demo form.
Yeah.
And then
Love it.
That's how you go. That's how you define that name.
Love it. I'm a big fan of just using the platform. So whatever is available already without having to use custom attributes on top of that, I'm very pro using that, because you don't need to be adding additional layers of abstraction when the browser is already providing something for you. So yeah, working with a form name, that was an awesome idea. Love it.
Thank you. Yeah, the idea was that it should also be very easy to read for you as a developer. Like StudioForm, okay, this is the form I want to work with, right? You could have like 5 other forms, but you want to pick like the form you want to work with. And then you use dot notation, which probably loads of you are familiar with already. And then it would be dot data, which and the thing you would probably expect from data is to get like the data that is inside the form, and then you just invoke it. And yeah, that's how you get like a beautiful JSON with all the form data that you want. And this is set to a variable. And now we get to like the magic of wized. And I think someone asked before, why use wized? Wized has inbuilt reactivity, which is just like, you're just gonna learn to love that. Because if I've built everything in like vanilla JavaScript, and you don't have any reactivity in vanilla JavaScript. And if you don't have reactivity, everything has to be event-based. So on click, change this text. On click, render this list. On load, do that. And when you have reactivity, it just becomes much easier, which is, so we have this form data variable over here. And let's see, what do? We do the name, we do the full name. So let's search for full name. Okay, yeah, perfect. Maybe not the easiest lines of code, but let's see where, yeah, okay. We just focus on this one here, which is the one thing that matters. Which is when this variable updates, right? This MSO form data variable updates, which is dot full name, then just return that, and wized will automatically update that without you having to think about event listeners and complex writing functionality. So yeah, this is awesome. This is much less, even though there's 5 lines of code, much less code than alternatively.
Love it. So basically, the way that this is connecting is that, so wized has its own data store, as we were talking about before, and wized just reacts to everything that changes in the data store. So for example, when you connect an element and you say, hey, I want this element's text to be displaying this specific state, a piece of state of our application, then anytime that piece of state changes, the element is automatically updated with a new text. So what you're doing is you're grabbing the data from StudioForm, and you're sending that data to be placed inside wized's data store. And that way you can just work with the elements as it was just wized, nothing else going on, just wized, because anytime that StudioForm changes, it updates the state, and then wized takes care of the rest, which is very, very nice. Love it.
Awesome. Yeah, that also was basically the idea. keep the development feeling native to wized. Don't make it harder. If possible, make it easier. So as you said, this is basically the only thing that is kind of new, that you listen to like these input and change events, and then you generate the variable based on like a StudioForm API. But other than that, just go back to your classic wized. So
Well,
I think
how hard it is to imagine that we've got an interactive form, and in some point in the form you've got dynamic fields. For example, I'm going to give you an example, something that says give me three I don't know, three colors, and then you get one, then you click on a plus button, for example, so you get a new field, and then you can just fill another color. Maybe you get a plus button, you get a new field. These type of setup, is that easy to build with this combination of StudioForm and wized?
yeah, this is obviously not the demo project that that shows that, but yeah, we've done very dynamic and reactive forms before, and StudioForm just plays well with that, because what StudioForm basically focus on most is the wrapper around the various form steps. So so basically, StudioForm focuses a lot on the moving part, like this moving and having like very strict rules when something is allowed to move. But the interactivity that happens within this form this form step. So somebody filled something out, and because of that, or if he presses a button, and because of that, new elements pop up, and he fills that out, the new elements pop up. Like StudioForm doesn't even think about that, and that makes it so easy to develop with it, because it just gives you a very like, it's a strict wrapper, but at the other on the other side is also a very flexible wrapper. So it tries to pick its jobs, basically. Like StudioForm purposefully does not try to do everything.
Nice. But when you dynamically create new fields inside a step, does StudioForm recognize that, oh, we've got new fields, so we need to validate those fields, for example?
So the default validation of StudioForm only happens on next on submit. So only when a user tries to navigate the default behavior is only at that exact moment we're going to validate. And if in the meantime you updated your input fields, StudioForm will recognize that. So we don't like every time we like in the millisecond this is clicked, we capture what is on this particular slide, and yeah, that's how that works.
Nice, love it. Yeah, so then this is fully compatible not only with wized, but with custom JavaScript, with whatever people wants to just sprinkle the form with. It should be working with just beautifully.
Yes.
Nice. And I see some conversations here in the chat. Josh was just trying to confirm if the card on the left of your example was being driven by wized or by StudioForm. So Josh, as Leon was showing, the idea is that that preview card was fully driven by wized. And the reason why that was possible is because StudioForm was sending the state, sending the info that it was collecting from the form directly to wized. So then wized is fully independent and just says, oh, I've got a piece of state, I've got some data, I can work with it. And in that case, Leon in his wized project uses that data to display it inside that preview card.
Exactly.
And yeah, and he says, I don't think it would be too difficult to manually implement something like that on non-wized projects. Yeah, absolutely. Like every single line of code that wized uses, it's just using the vanilla JavaScript API that StudioForm exposes. So it's not strictly just for wized. It's just JavaScript. Doesn't matter if it's wized, if it's vanilla JavaScript, if it's a React project, it doesn't matter. It's just JavaScript. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we miss? Do you want to talk about anything else, Leon, before we leave in about 5 minutes from now?
So this project has like a lot of features that you're gonna get to know once you start working with it in like bigger jobs and like bigger instances. And I think one of the coolest thing which we touched on earlier just a bit was that you could, without any additional code, have like a complex multi-step form and just insert like a Xeno link, set the method to post, and just send your data over to Xeno. And you don't have to write anything additionally. And I just think this is super, super practical. So I'm not sure if we, should I show this?
You can, yeah. If we need to extend the live stream for 5 minutes, doesn't matter. That's
Cool. Let's see. Oops. Just want to make sure let's go here. And then I would just see that I make like a new demo API endpoint. And then we just do like a custom post endpoint. And then we call that test or whatever. How does that go? It is get all inputs from a webhook. That's what I'm interested in. And then this is my data, and then I want to return that, so we can have a look at that. Let's publish this, and let's copy the endpoint URL. And oh yeah, you could do that with wized as well, but I just wanted to showcase the quicker way. So you copy your endpoint URL and you just paste it in here, and you press
Which
publish.
is the native behavior of a form. When you've got a URL in the action attribute of a form, essentially the browser, what's going to do is when you submit the form, it just grabs all the fields from your form and sends them in a post request or in a get request, if you define the method, directly to the end server. So it's just standard native functionality, which is awesome. You don't need any special tools to send that data over to your server.
Actually, if you would do that with a Webflow form, because Webflow has a submission engine, so it's not the native form behavior, right? This wouldn't be that smooth. Like it kind of does send your data, but it also sends it to like Webflow. It depends a bit on what you pick. It doesn't work that reliably. But
I believe that when you use a native Webflow form without any tools on top of it, and you define a custom action, then Webflow just steps away from, so it steps out of the way, and it just falls back to the native form behavior, I believe.
Yeah, like sometimes, like I had some instances, for example, when I implement like jot form as the server to receive like the data, which just really was weird because it opened like the jot form link in a new tab, and that sort of it probably happens when you set it to get, right? But it sometimes just doesn't behave like you want, and especially like in the multi-step purpose or the multi-step world, it just would be a bit even weirder. But yeah, let's look at the request history on this one, and we just did the submission, and we look at the. Let's see.
You got all the input, I think.
Input.
The inputs were there.
Yeah, nice. And we have everything in a beautiful format.
Nice. And just for everyone watching, all these inputs are, the names of those inputs are exactly the same ones that are defined in Webflow. So when you go in Webflow and you go in the name field, that's what's being sent to the server. That's how browsers work. You define an input field with a name, and that name is the key of inside the payload. We've got a question from the community. Ile is asking, is there a way to send part of the data? Let's say I have a multi-step form that the first step is name and email, and second and third are other details, but the user maybe won't fill them.
So you're asking if you just want to have specific data. Yeah. If we go to wized, so this just becomes easier instead of wized. We see this form over here. It has like a bunch of data, but let's say we just want the data from the very first step. You insert a number in here, which would be the index of your step, right? It starts at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And boom, you just get full name, designation, and the image. And the rest of the data is not there.
Nice. So you could potentially listen for events to see when the first step is completed, and then grab the data from that first step and send that data to your server. That would be possible.
Yeah, that would be possible.
Nice. Love it. In this case, you would need some custom JavaScript or wized, but it's Eli. Sounds like what you want to build. It is possible. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, going back to to my permanent advertisement for Wist right here, but it just, I don't know, like Wist just breaks this down into like these very small snippets. And just StudioForm exposes this JavaScript API, which allows you to continue to write in these very small snippets. And this makes just the organization and the publishing process and going live just so much easier than, for example, like setting up like a custom coded environment in VS Code and having to set up NPM and all that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. And you've got some pretty nice documentation. I don't know if we share that in the comments, but we should throw that again, because there's a lot of things to see about the tool. And obviously 1 hour it's not enough time to talk about everything. But what we have not discussed, it's in the docs, right? You create these amazing docs. You probably spent quite a lot of time, because documentation takes a lot of time to do. So anybody who's just curious about building something that was not fully explained in here, just go in the docs, because I think that you guys did an amazing job in there.
thank you. And we are definitely open to expand it. Like there's still really crazy edge cases that you just don't think of initially, even though this is probably our fourth try to make documentations, and I think this time we really nailed it. But yeah, also feel free to just reach out to me. I'm active within the WIST communities. You can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you have any really special questions, but I think like 99% of questions are solved and answered within here.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So before we leave, I think that we should encourage everyone again, just give it a try. You know that every single tool that we present, it always takes a bit of time to get used to it, but it's the best way to learn something. It's not only to see a live stream, it's to actually play with it. So just think about something. Maybe it's just for onboarding people in your marketing side. Maybe it's just for some internal thing in your company. Maybe just for inviting your friends to the next dinner at your place. Doesn't matter. Just come up with some cool idea to work on it, and then give StudioForm a try. Because with that, it's when you really learn about the tool. It's when you really feel yourself, okay, I need to solve this. I'm gonna go in the docs. I'm gonna find how to do it, and then this is info that you are gonna retain in your head. And now you've got a new skill, which is the skill of building multi-step forms in Webflow in just a matter of minutes. So just give it a try. Give it an absolute try, and you will not regret it. Okay, Leon, do you want to say anything before we say goodbye to people?
No, this I just saw a comment from Glenn. No, it was an absolute pleasure, and thank you guys for listening in, especially to such a very specific topic. But I think it comes up more often than not. So yeah, thanks for listening. So it's awesome to share about the stuff where I spend just tremendous amounts of time on. So yeah.
And you're always welcome. So in the future, people, if you want to see more things about StudioForm, if you release something new, whatever people is interested in, we can just have another live stream. I love to hang out with people like you from the community. This was a pleasure. So thank you, Liam, for coming. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for being here, asking questions, interacting with us, and to give the tool a try. And have everyone a good weekend. Thank you all.
Okay, bye bye.